Hey guys, it's Destiny, and today we are going to be showing off E2 Acheron. I know a lot of people have been waiting for her rerun, potentially even considering E2 Acheron in general, so I thought I'd just mess around with her today. And before we get into today's video, let me know, is there any character you are looking forward to or even want a rerun for? I'd love to know. And if you guys enjoy videos like these, do make sure to subscribe to win your next 50/50, leave a like to support the video, and now let's get straight into it. So we're going to be using Acheron here in MOC 12, and I'm just going to show her off with a couple of different partners. The teams will have some similarities, of course, so we're just going to take a quick look at my Acheron stats. Here they are. She does have her signature light cone. I personally do think her signature light cone is a very nice pickup if you are considering this, especially on her rerun. As for her traces, I have maxed her out. Acheron is, of course, one of my favorite characters to play, so I definitely wanted to make sure that I maxed out her traces, which is definitely worthwhile. And as for her relics, we are using the Izumu set and the Pioneer set. So I can just go through each of these pieces right here. A lot of focus on crit rate and crit damage. Those stats are very important. And as you guys may see, I actually have speed boots on her today. The reason I have speed boots is because one of the partners that she will be used with will be able to increase her speed. So because of this, I wanted to take advantage of that so that she would actually be above the 134 speed threshold. So that's really good for us to take advantage of. And typically speaking, I actually use attack boosts. These attack boosts specifically on my Acheron. But for today, we are just going to use speed boosts just to show how many stacks she can get, especially with E2. For her orb, we do have an attack orb right here. You can either use attack or lightning. Either one honestly is pretty good on Acheron. And then for her rope, we have attack rope. And as for why I'm running the Izumu set, the reason I'm running this is just so she can have more attack, but also the fact that whenever she's paired up with a character that is the same path as her crit rate will increase by 12%, and this is just really handy for being able to get her closer to that 100% threshold. Since as you guys can see, my Acheron only has a 51% crit rate, which isn't really the greatest. You may be considering, why not just use a crit rate body, which that can definitely help. Our crit damage will go down quite a bit though, but the reason why I usually actually opt for a crit damage body is because of the fact we will be able to fully take advantage of E1 since we will still have one nihility character on the team. And when Acheron deals damage to a debuffed enemy, her crit rate will increase by 18%. So when you consider Izumu, which is 12%, and then you consider, of course, the E1, which is 18, that is a whopping 30% right there, which is pretty huge in my opinion. And then depending on how your pieces go for your substats, that can make you get pretty high crit rate there as well. The Pioneer set will of course further help out with this. There's definitely ways to effectively use a crit damage body, and the reason I do it is just so she can have a higher crit damage value. And then as for her E2, this is where the good stuff really is, which is the number of nihility characters required for her Trace the Abyss to activate is reduced by 1. So if you wanted to effectively take advantage of her trace fully while having one nihility character and one harmony character, now you can fully do this without actually really losing anything. The only real thing I guess you would lose out on is the additional stack that you would get from that nihility character being on the team, since the debuffs will still be able to assist with Acheron getting stacks. But the thing about that is now Acheron will be able to get an additional stack whenever her turn begins. So for our first team, we'll have Ruan Mei, and then we'll also have Guinaifen, Jiaoqiu, and then Acheron herself. We can just get straight into it. So there we go. We are going to be able to inflict quite a lot of debuffs onto these enemies before Acheron attacks, which will allow us to just deal a bunch of damage onto them. So Guinaifen, we're going to use a skill, and now with Jiaoqiu, we are also going to use a skill here and then use his ultimate. And now what we can do with Ruan Mei, which is really convenient, is we can actually basic attack, which will break the TV and actually give Acheron another stack. And now we'll be able to use Acheron's ultimate. So we're about to deal so much freaking damage here. If we take a look at the enemy real quick, yeah, they have a bunch of debuffs inflicted onto them. They're able to take advantage of this and just deal a bunch of damage. There we go. Oh my gosh, they're just like all broken. Boom. Bam, and Wha-bam! There we go, 1.5 million. And 1.5 was honestly really good just to be able to deal with that damage onto enemies. Now with Guinaifen, I'm actually going to be saving her ultimate for the next wave. So what we're going to do is we are just going to try to get more and more stacks for Acheron going into the next wave of enemies here. So with Jiaoqiu, I'm also going to skill. There we go. And now the drink is going to get delayed. So what I can do with Ruan Mei is I can just basic attack. They're also going to get delayed. And now with Acheron, I'm going to use her skill. Boom. And now with Guinaifen, I can just basic attack right here. The fire dot was able to kill, the burn rather. And now with Guinaifen, what's really nice about her, she's literally going to break these enemies and we're just gonna let her do her thing. And well, bam, there we go. What we can do now is just use Acheron's ultimate, just take advantage of that. And well, bam, there we go. And now with Jiaoqiu, we can just use his skill. And now with Acheron, we can also use hers. There we go. And we're getting so many freaking stacks, which is awesome. Now with Jiaoqiu, I'm going to just use his ultimate. And now I'm also going to use Acheron's ultimate right here. And thankfully, actually, all the stacks are going on to the enemy in the middle. Hopefully, we can actually break them. That'd be really good. And boom, there we go. And we did break them. And yeah, this is a really easy clear here. We can just replenish Ruan Mei's skill just for the additional buffs. Now with Guinaifen, we can break all of them. And now they only have 1%. I think Jiaoqiu is actually going to be the one that ends this. Boop, there we go. As for our replacement for Guinaifen, we're just going to use Pela in the slot. And I was actually able to do it on stream, but Black Swan can also work in that slot as well. And now with Jiaoqiu, I'm actually going to use his skill on the middle enemy just so we can break all of the enemies with Acheron's ultimate. So there we go. And now with Ruan Mei, we can just use her ultimate and then we can just do the same thing as before. I just want to be able to take advantage of the break from the TV just to give Acheron that additional stack. And now Pela is going to debuff all the enemies right here. There we go. And now it's time for the Wabam combo. Boom, boom. There we go. And Wabam, 1.7 million. Holy moly. We are dealing quite a lot of damage here. And with Acheron, oh my gosh, I feel like her skill is actually going to kill. So we're just going to basic. Yeah, no, even the basic does a lot of damage. So we're just going to do some basic attacks here. So just so we're able to get more stacks before we actually go into the next wave of enemies here. So let's use Ruan Mei's skill, just replenish that. And now with Acheron, now we can use her skill. Boom, there we go. Okay, so now with Pela, we're just going to use her ultimate right here. Just so we're able to get the defense drop on the enemies. And now with Acheron, we're also going to use her ultimate. So boom. And wabam, there we go. We dealt 1 million damage. Holy moly. Okay. That is quite a lot of damage. So now what we can do is, let's see. I'm not really the biggest fan of splitting the stacks. What I want to do with Pela is I'm just going to use her skill. And now with Jiaoqiu, we can use his skill as well. Boom, there we go. And now with Acheron, we can use her skill like so. Bam. And now going into this next wave here, we can use Jiaoqiu's ultimate. And then I'm going to be able to also use Acheron's ultimate. He's just going to be able to help out with just us reducing the toughness meters of the enemies here. And boom, there we go. Another million. Okay, Pela's going to get hit. Let's see who gets put to sleep. It is Ruan Mei. That actually works out pretty nicely. We're going to do that. We're also going to use Pela's ultimate here. There we go. And now with Jiaoqiu, oh my gosh, I just realized we're not going to be able to, okay, we can use his basic. Now we are going to get hit here, which is okay. So they are going to get delayed a bit. So he is going to get attacked, but this is fine. And now with Acheron, we're also going to be able to get our ultimate here. So there we go, boom. And now this final ultimate will be able to finish it. So let's just do a normal speed. Boom. Bam. And wha-bam. There we go. So we were able to get a 0 with that team as well, which is pretty fun. And let's just do one more alternative for today. Now, for those that feel more comfortable with a sustain, I thought we could just do this last one. Now, granted, you don't really need Jiaoqiu here for this team. You could honestly use a character like Guinaifen, and that should be okay as well. So same game plan as before. We're going to use his skill and then his ultimate. Boom, there we go. So unfortunately, the stacks are going to have to get split because Lingsha does go after Ruan Mei, since I do have my Ruan Mei on the Von Wax set. So what we're going to do is we're just going to basic attack. And now with Ruan Mei, I am going to use her ultimate. And now with Lingsha, what we can do is we can just use her skill. Boom. And we can now use Acheron's ultimate just to deal a good amount of damage here. And well, bam, there we go. We still dealt 1.5, which is pretty good. So now with Acheron, I can just use her skill. Boom, there we go. Now with Jiaoqiu, we can just basic. They are going to get delayed. I am going to save Lingsha's ultimate here for the next wave. And the reason we're using Lingsha in particular is because of the fact that she'll just be able to help quickly break enemies. You could also consider Gallagher. He works perfectly fine as well. And you additionally could also consider Aventurine. So now what we can do with Acheron is we can just use her skill. Boom, there we go. So now we're going to just immediately use Lingsha's ultimate right here. We're just going to be able to reduce the toughness of these enemies very well. And well, bam, there we go. And now we can just use Acheron's ultimate. And we're just going to be able to basically go immediately into this next HP bar. So we're going to get hit here, which is fine. So Acheron's going to get hit, but Fugue will come into the rescue. Now, who's going to get put to sleep? Okay, it is Acheron, which is a bit unfortunate, but I think even though this is a pretty bad case scenario, I think we will be able to manage. So we can just use our skill. And now with Jiaoqiu, I can basic. I am going to use his ultimate though. Why not? Let's just do that. Actually, now I'm thinking about it, we probably would have dealt more damage if we waited for Fugue to come break them. But I think this will be okay. We can use Ruan Mei's ultimate right here. There we go. Oh, he still dealt pretty good damage there, which is nice. And now with Acheron, we can use her ultimate. Boom. And wha-bam, there we go. That is also a pretty comfortable clear in my opinion. Honestly, it might have been the most comfortable clear just in general because the fact that even if we had pretty bad RNG with this enemy right here, Lingsha would still be able to come and heal us. Now, of course, if you are using Gallagher instead, let's say one of the characters on the team does get put to sleep, you could just use his skill to help with that. So Gallagher, once again, is a very good option as well. And then if you do use Aventurine, you might just be able to resist it completely. And Aventurine can help with breaking the two little puppets on the side of the main puppet. So that'll be really good. So there's definitely alternatives as well if you want to use a sustain. I will say overall, I am a huge fan of just, I guess, the additional stack with Acheron. With this team, since it does have a sustain, it is using Ruan Mei and it is using Jiaoqiu, we don't actually have Nihility on this team right here in comparison to the other two teams. So this Trace, if she was E0, would not be able to fully be taken advantage of. So in that scenario, you would likely have to swap out Ruan Mei for someone. But Ruan Mei was definitely very helpful because of her buffs definitely being able to amplify the damage output of Acheron in general. And then also being in a way, if you are doing a no sustain comp, if you play it a certain way, you technically could use Ruan Mei as, in a sense, your sustain. You will be able to delay enemies that are weakness broken, so you can take advantage of that. But I'd love to know for you guys that do have Acheron, what do you guys think about her Eidolons in general? Do you think her E1 is worth it or her E2? I did notice, of course, when I am playing her, since she is E2, her stack generation will be faster. And if you do have Jiaoqiu as well, you just get a bunch of stacks, especially if there are multiple enemies. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this fun little video of us using E2 Acheron. I'd love to know once again if you guys are potentially considering pulling for her or even maybe going for her Eidolons at all, or if you even plan to skip her, because I've seen some people say they might actually skip Acheron. So I'd love to know what you guys think about her currently. And I hope you guys did enjoy this video. And if you did, do make sure to subscribe, leave a like to support the video, and I hope to see you all next time. Peace.